everyone. A warm welcome to all of you to this insightful learning session on regulating the accounting and auditing profession, a learning curve. Today's session would take us through the evolving landscape of professional regulations, ethical responsibilities, and sustainable practices that shape the future of our profession. This learning curve reminds us that regulation is not a restriction. It's a guide that helps us grow with integrity. As we begin, let's reflect on one powerful thought. Skills may build a career, but ethics builds a legacy. We're about to engage in a discussion that will challenge our thinking, sharpen our professional judgment, and reaffirm our commitment to ethical excellence. On behalf of ICAI Muscat Chapter, let me take this opportunity to thank our valuable supporters for today's events before we begin. Our platinum supporter, OQGN, silver supporters, Deloitte, Moore, Premier Brains Global, Crow, and Jindal Steel, tax partner, JSR Tax Advisors, cybersecurity partners, Tech Deliver and Tally, bronze supporter, Abu Thimam Grant Thornton, corporate silver members, PwC, PDO, and Muscat Overseas Group, corporate regular members, Al-Naba Holding and Arabian Industries. This event has turned out to be what it is with your support. Thank you. So let's open our minds to learn, unlearn, and relearn, because in a world driven by numbers, our true value is measured by our integrity. May I now request everyone present here to kindly stand as we begin our ICAI motto song, which symbolizes vigilance and knowledge in our profession.
Yaesha supteshu jagrati Yaesha supteshu jagrati Kamam 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 kamarsho Pursho nirvimanaha nirvimanaha Tadeva shukram Tada brahma Tada brahma Tadeva mritamucchate Tasmin lokaha shataha Sarve tadunatyati kaschan Etadvaita 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 etadvaita
WOFA 2.0 is a global platform, as it said, that highlights the pivotal role of accountancy profession in shaping global economies. January 30 to February 1st, 2026 at India Expo Center and Mart, Greater Noida. Kindly connect with CA Duseja for further information. We hope all of you to see there. Before we move on, I know it's a long MC talk, unusually. Let me invite your attention to something really interesting, which is in the blood of most of us. Before I talk, video please. Whistle Porter? Whistle Porter? No whistle. That's the spirit. Okay, so we will have our inter-chapter cricket tournament on 13th to 14th February at Bahrain. We have received only 28 nominations so far. So before the trials begin, I request all of the interested persons to kindly connect with CA Gaurav Kapoor, the past chairman of our chapter, to kindly nominate yourselves. Okay, now a few more events that is lined up to enrich your experience, your professional and community experience. We have on 10th of December, e-invoicing at Sohar. 10th and 11th January, the second GCC conference. In January, we have Oman India Investor Forum. 30th Jan and 1st Feb, as mentioned earlier, WOFA 2.0. 13th and 14th February, the GCC level cricket tournament. And in January and February, we'll have the regulatory framework in Oman and the new direct tax code. So these are the various events lined up to enrich your experience. I hope all of you will generally participate and gain your benefit from these. So now let's get back to the business. Right. So may I now request CA Unmesh Bhume, our chairman of ICAI Muscat Chapter, to deliver the welcome address and his special address to all of us. Thank you.
भूल गए सर मैं हाथ ऊपर करता हूं तो सब लोग ताली बजाते हैं वी ऑल हैव बीन ट्रेन्ड सो अगर आपको तालियां चाहिए तो आपको हाथ ऊपर करना पड़ेगा आपको जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी मुझे जरूरत पड़ती है okay so welcome everybody to this wonderful and very insightful session. I think this topic is at the heart of everybody who is working mostly in the practice. There are draft regulations which have been issued, and we got Amarjit sir, the right speaker, the experienced speaker, to help us, guide us on this particular complex topic. He was very kind enough to connect with us. I think this is one of the first events, sir, which I have organized so far, apart from the international conferences. Wherein the event was finalized probably 4 months in advance. We connected somewhere in August. Mubinji called me and then we arranged and fixed the date, 3rd December. So very much thank you to Amarjit sir. Let's give him a big round of applause for connecting with us in advance. And here we are, sir. 4 महीने जल्दी निकल गए. So my talk is not over or does not start unless it's a Sanskrit word, Sanskrit shloka or a शायरी. तो शायरी के लिए आज मुबीन जी आप 2 शब्द बोल दीजिए बाद में. So the shloka says, Duracharana siddhyanti manasa api kathanchana. So there cannot be a wrong deed even in our mind. So that is the beauty of our Indian ethos. And probably the regulations are also hinting the same thing. Whenever there is a law or a regulation, it's always taken sometimes in a negative way. But if you really ask us, we will obviously cover, sir will guide us how they are useful to the profession, for the upliftment of the profession. If you see, sir, in the last 5 years for Oman especially, the regulatory landscape has changed significantly. In 2019, we had the corporate law which was amended. Then 2020, we had the regulations for the SAOG companies. In 2021, we had the regulations for the SAOC companies, which are the public companies but not listed companies. Then in April 21, we had the VAT. Then Jan 2025, we had the DMTT, though we are awaiting the regulations. That's why we keep on shifting the next session. It is supposed to be this year, right? So probably in Jan, we should have it. The regulations will be out and we'll be having our session. Then we had personal income tax. So Oman will be the first country in the Middle East to have the personal income tax. So the regulatory landscape had changed a lot. Then mid of this year, we had the draft regulations on regulation of the accounting and the auditing profession. Everybody was shaken. I got, or most of the MC members got a lot of calls. सर ये क्या है, कैसा करना है, ऐसा हो रहा है, वैसे हो रहा है. So the first impression was a bit negative in terms of why this is happening, how it's going to affect the business. In my personal opinion, if I have to say, a regulated profession is the respected profession. No matter how much you like it, a regulation gives you a credibility. Something is followed in accordance with some of the guidelines. So that's very critical for us to understand that the regulations are there to protect us. So if I look at the second point, what I just made 4 points, I'll keep my talk very short. So feedback आता है तो ज़्यादा ही बोल देता है, footage ज़्यादा खाता है, तो I'm just keeping it point based. Regulations is not about restrictions, it's about protection. So though there are some restrictions put on the audit firms in terms of the way they conduct their business, accept the number of audits, it is to protect the overall audit practice, the firms, to ensure the quality. Once the quality is maintained, obviously the profession gets its due credibility. So it's a protection not of public trust, also investors are protected, government gets the protection, reputation of the profession, that's the fundamental, that's the ultimate goal. This is not a challenge to the auditors, it is an investment. So all the practicing members, fellow members, please look at it from an investment point of view, how we can do best and bring the profession to a level. I was in Dubai last week and I came across a new concept called stamp audit. So I think that's where the concept of regulations comes into picture, that anybody sees an audited financial statements which are signed by a chartered accountant, be it Indian chartered accountant or any chartered accountant, the credibility of the profession is at stake. The banks look at it, the regulators look at it, and we don't want the name, anybody to say that this CA has not done his job the way he should have done it. So it's an investment for us, and probably the era of unregulated practice is over. So those firms probably who are doing malpractices, mispractices, which they should not, probably will see a consolidation, will relook at the way their approach is, and will come out as a good professional, image of the chartered accountants, especially CA from India. We are the partners in nation building, and on behalf of the entire CA community, I would like to pledge our support, wholehearted support to these regulations. Profession ka naam hai to hum hai, right? Ultimately, it's the name CA, what we use before our name, that gives us the credibility and the recognition in the market. मुबीन जी आ ही गया, देखिए एक दुराचार टिके कहाँ सत्य की रोशनी में जनाब, दुराचार टिके कहाँ सत्य की रोशनी में जनाब, नियम रुकावट नहीं, regulations are not stopping you, पेशे की भरोसे की असली किताब. So the regulations are very critical. Let's look at it positively. And as I always say, east or west, Indian chartered accountants are, अरे जोर से बोलो यार, सर आए हैं बोलेंगे क्या ओमान के चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स हैं, ईस्ट और वेस्ट, इंडियन सीएस आर. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Inmeji, for setting the tone of the meeting with your valuable insights. It's time to invite our speaker for today's session, CA Amarjit Chopra, past president of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, onto the stage. I request CA Gaurav Kapoor and CA Unmesh Bome, both the gentlemen, to kindly welcome him onto the stage. AV, please.
We are honored to welcome CA Dr. Amarjit Chopra, a distinguished chartered accountant with over 50 years of professional experience. CA Dr. Chopra completed his PhD on non-performing asset management in banks and is a senior partner at GSA and Associates in New Delhi. He has served as the president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and led key committees on accounting standards, auditing, and corporate laws. As chairman of the National Advisory Committee on Accounting Standards, he played a vital role in introducing IFRS
उनको
equivalent
हैंड माइक
standards
चाहिए
in
रहेगा ना
India. He played a
हाँ ठीक है
significant role as vice chairman in the high-powered committee of ICAI that addressed the Satyam fraud case. He has contributed extensively to corporate governance studies and served as ICAI's nominee to SAPA committees on IT and quality control. He has received numerous international honors, including honorary memberships with the Australian Institute of Chartered Accountants and the International Association of Accountants. A prolific speaker and writer, he has delivered thousands of lectures worldwide and contributed significantly to accounting and governance reforms. Please join us in welcoming CA Dr. Amarjit Chopra.
It's indeed our honor and pleasure to have you, sir, here. Over to you.
On Meshji and other members of the Managing Committee of Oman Chapter, there are many friends sitting right in front. Thank you very much for providing this opportunity. Very frankly, you have set the ball rolling with your remarks. But before that, I would like to say that when you were announcing this cricket tournament, how I wish that I could go back in number of years and could play again. I'm an ardent supporter of cricket, fan of cricket rather, to the extent that I played cricket up to the age of 58 when I was the president. But when in a match between the regional council and the central council, we won that match. I can tell you that. We beat regional council. But my calf muscle got pulled and I was limping for almost 15 days as a president. So my wife scolded me. She said, "You must mind your age now." And that was the day when I stopped playing cricket. But I follow cricket because second ODI is going on and India scored more than 350 today in any case, with Kohli scoring 53rd 100 in the ODI cricket. I can wish you all the best in this tournament, and I think it's a very welcome move because it brings the people together. To me, there is nothing better than being together, anywhere, and on any pretext for that matter. And so far as topic for the day is concerned, I can say that, as I said, you set the ball rolling. Regulation is always better. Regulation provides you the respect. Regulation protects you. I will tell you how regulation protects me, basically. And also at the same time, if you are unregulated, nobody knows whether the financial statements or the reporting would be comparable at any point of time. Believe me, in India, we are the only nation in the world, for that matter. When you say Indian Chartered Accountant is the best, there are reasons for that, to some extent. Of course, you also talked of stamp. You can talk of thumb impression also, for that matter, in certain cases. What hurts one is that in the last about 15 years, Indian banks had to write off more than 18 lakh crore of rupees as NPS. And still, we are not out of woods, very frankly. We are unable to implement ECL, though I am not a great fan of ECL for that matter in the banking sector. I've always believed that prudential norms are better. At least you provide, because otherwise you leave it to the discretion of the management, which you shouldn't do in certain circumstances. But I know what is the position of the mudra loans, what is the position of the agricultural loans, what is the position of the educational loans. You talk of anything, and today agricultural loans are about 15 lakh crores. And mudra loans are about 10 lakh crore rupees. And out of that, even if 60% is bad, you can imagine what is the number. You can imagine that despite being a regulated profession, in a company like Reliance Communications, when it went to NCLT for insolvency or for restructuring, you can say, it had a total borrowing of 46,000 crore rupees plus. And it has been actually ultimately given to some party for 454 crore rupees, which means the banks have lost how much? You can think of it. It has not even been settled at 0.1%. There must be certain thing in the balance sheet which has gone unnoticed. And in India today, it's bad to say, but it is a factual thing, because that has been my topic of the research. On an average, in the NCLT, every bank has to take an haircut of 70%. This is the average haircut. And there are cases where 99% haircut has been taken, 96% haircut has been taken. That reflects the profession to an extent, somewhere or the other. And I think that is where regulation is a must. This landscape of the entire profession is changing because of that only. And it's not only confined to India, it is worldwide, basically. The number of scams are not there only in India. I think we are the only country which escaped, so far as the banking is concerned, the 2008 recession. Otherwise, we were the only country where none of the bankers went fat. You look at US, you look at Germany, you look at Japan, you look at UK, everywhere the banks had gone fat. India was the only country because we were following at that particular point of time the prudential norms. And I think that was the hallmark of the Indian banking system. And that credit can also be given to the Chartered Accountants of India to an extent. There is no doubt in my mind. The other thing that I will like to say, you said that it protects us. I will give you a simple example. Auditing standards were never on the anvil of the Companies Act in India. When Companies Act 2013 came in, at that particular point of time, auditing standards were made mandatory for the auditors to follow. Now, what is the significance thereof? The significance thereof is that before that, if I used to tell a client that I need external confirmations under SA 505, the client would say, "Yaar, what confirmation? What kind of confirmation? Why should I get the confirmation?" I will say, "There is an auditing standard." He used to say, "Auditing standards of your institute, doesn't pertain to me." Today I say it is a part of the Companies Act, boss. It is not my doing. It is not a part of my institute's doing. It is under the Companies Act that you are supposed to give it. And more importantly, when I come to some of the basic issues also, why the landscape of the regulation is changing today, you look at the going concern. The way the going concern has been going on and the way we have been reporting, today now the chartered accountants have started fearing this going concern concept, frankly speaking, if you ask me. And I think this is one of the most hotly debated topic, whether an organization is a going concern or not. All those cases which have gone to NCLT, ultimately in India, these were always being reported as going concerns. And what has happened to those going concerns, I don't need to say anything for that matter. So what I say is that at times it protects you and protects you to no limit. And the similar thing had happened to the accounting standards in India. I used to go to the client and I will tell him inventory valuation has to be done in this manner. He will say in this manner. I will say accounting policies have to be disclosed as per the AS1. He will say what AS1. I will show him my book and I will say this is Bible to me. He will say it is Mahabharata to me. He said it belongs to you. It doesn't belong to me. Ultimately, when accounting standards were made part of the Companies Act, and then under section 217 of the Companies Act, it was said very clearly that the directors have to issue a director's responsibility statement that all accounting standards have been complied with. Now it has protected me. Now I say it is not my baby alone, boss. You are preparing the financial statements and you are supposed to confirm to me that all accounting standards have been followed. I will give you more examples. We have a report which is nowhere in the world, which is called CARO, Companies Auditor Report Order. Earlier, when it was introduced, it was called MAO-CARO. MAO-CARO was being read as Mild and Otherwise Cooperative Auditor's Report. Believe me, the first paragraph of that would say, the first question on that was with regard to the fixed asset verification and the fixed assets. And everyone will write, particularly in the case of all private limited companies, fixed asset register is under updation. And it went from the day one till the end of the life of the company, for that matter. And not only that, underneath there was a line whether the fixed assets have been physically verified and whether any material discrepancies have been found. There I will say that these have been physically verified and no material discrepancy has been observed. If it is under updation, how can I say that no material discrepancy has been observed? This CARO had one question which was already there in the Act for that matter, whether any personal expenses have been debited to the profit and loss account. And Institute Guidance Note gave a very good wording. And it said, except for whatever has been there in the contractual with the employees, no other personal expense has been debited. And everywhere you will say no personal expense has been debited. Now, of course, that clause has been taken out from the CARO. When we switched from Mao-CARO to CARO, we said Maoism is dead all over the world. So let's CARO. And CARO means karo. Kuch to karo, basically. Let it be that way. And ultimately now, the number of questions have increased. I was chairing that particular committee, which was to revise this particular report. I told this government, I told the secretary, I said, you are casting all responsibilities on the auditors. But certain questions have to be answered by the management also. If you want the auditor to say that in the case of the working capital limits more than 5 crores, the stock statement submitted by them, or the debtor statement submitted by them, or the creditor statement submitted by the company on a quarterly basis, these are as per the books of accounts, then the first management must certify in the Schedule 3 itself. In the financial statement, let first management certify and then let them come to us. And then let the auditor confirm that, whether it is as per that or not. And believe me, secretary agreed immediately. And there are 5 or 6 some such clauses where the government said, let the first management certify that these things are in existence and then only the auditor will certify. What has happened in the bargain? No, the management is more conscious than us. And when management becomes conscious of the fact that this is to be done, auditor's responsibility becomes lesser. Auditor's liability becomes lesser. So it is also a consequence of the regulation. Regulation by MCA. In different countries, institutes have been created differently, very frankly. In 70 to 80, which are the public accounting organizations, professional accountancy organizations, 70 to 80 POs, these have been created by the governments. In South Asia particularly, whether it is Bangladesh or it is Pakistan or India or Sri Lanka, everywhere these institutes have been created by the acts of the parliament. When these have been created by the acts of the parliament, you are under certain ministry, we are under some ministry. But US is a class example where there is a complete subdivision of the different functions. In our case, what is happening today is, we are conducting the exam, we are enrolling the members, we are responsible for the continuing professional education, we are responsible for the peer review, we are responsible for the disciplinary also. Before NAFRA came into play, very frankly, NFRA came into play in 2018 on 1st of October. In all these cases, everything is being done by the institute. Even the accounting standards were earlier being prepared and pronounced by the institute. Before the Companies Act was amended to say that accounting standards will be prepared by the institute, will be presented to National Advisory Committee on Accounting Standards, and National Advisory Committee on Accounting Standard has the power to change it, to revise it to the extent they want to do it, and then give it to the government to get it notified. What happened in the bargain? When these standards have been notified by the government, I am becoming safe. So that is the protection that I am getting. Now these are no more my accounting standards. These are the accounting standards which have been notified. And now similarly, with NFRA coming into play, accounting and auditing standards both will be first prepared by the institute, will be given to NFRA. NFRA will recommend it to the government to be notified. So मेरी तो responsibility वैसे ही कम हो गई. Automatically I am in a safer zone now, basically, as an institute, as a professional, for that matter. So what I am trying to say is, what you said was absolutely correct. That if there is a regulator in front of you, you get protected. But then, having too much regulation, today one of the pitfalls of the entire thing with the auditing profession is, we have too many regulators. That is the most unfortunate part. Institute is still a regulator. Institute is a regulator now, so far as the disciplinary mechanism is concerned, in respect of only smaller cases. So far as listed entities are concerned, banks are concerned, financial institutions are concerned, institute cannot interfere there. Or certain unlisted entities are concerned, where the borrowings are there, or where the turnover is of a particular amount, or paid up capital is of a particular amount, their institute cannot interfere, so far as the disciplinary mechanism is concerned. No, I am not very sure that I am acting as a firm. Now, in some cases, the institute is my regulator for disciplinary mechanism. In some cases, it is NFRA which is regulator. And in some cases, even SEBI can haul me up. This over-regulation is also killing the profession, all over the world, for that matter, if you ask me. Because what is happening is that every regulator wants to have his own turf. And they don't want to give an inch of their turf to anybody. Now that is becoming a problem to the end. Today, believe me, I can tell you, Anmesh and everyone else, auditing is one profession which is not liked by any youngster. No youngster wants to come to the auditing profession. They want to go to tax, they want to go to merger acquisitions, they want to go to forensic, they want to go to, but report पे जहाँ पे sign करने पड़ेंगे वहाँ नहीं जाना चाहते. They don't want to go there. Because they feel that they are exposed. Because the way NFRA has come in, NFRA was never meant for these kind of interpretations basically. They are going line by line, word by word of a standard. If you start doing that, no audit can be foolproof. If an audit has been conducted 10 times by 10 different people, You put the 11th man on the job, he will find out a mistake in that. There's no doubt about it. I think that's becoming an area of a problem. Now, if you don't get the talent in the audit, because all talented youngsters are trying to shift from audit to somewhere else, there is going to be a huge shortage of the talent, so far as the auditing profession is concerned or accounting profession is concerned. So far as accounting is concerned, it is already dead so far as we are concerned, because already the tools have taken it, the softwares have taken it up. 93% of the accounting work has already been taken up by the technology. Let's be clear about it. I still remember, and I was telling Sachin when I was on the way to this place, when we were doing CA, it used to be an art how to tally a trial balance. और मैंने एक जगह लिखा कि जो जितनी जल्दी ट्रायल बैलेंस मिलाता था उसको उतना स्मार्ट समझा जाता था. इट्स अ फैक्ट. मुझे अभी तक याद है, वी वर डूइंग ए शुगर मिल ऑडिट इन मुरादाबाद. जमीन पे बैठ के ट्रायल बैलेंस मिलता था कभी, एंड आई वाज टेलिंग हिम कि उसमें भी एक समझदारी होती थी. लोग कहते हैं ट्रायल बैलेंस मिलाने में क्या समझदारी थी. If there was a difference which was divisible by 9, it was interposition of the figures. Instead of 82, you have written 28. Instead of 81, you have written 18. Instead of 27, you have written 72. You find the difference, and if it is divisible by 9, there could be a position where there is an interposition of the figures which has undergone a change. And if the difference is 1, 10, 100, 10,000, 1,000, it is a totaling mistake somewhere or the other. Abhi to, now where is the question of trial balance telling? No way. This technology is killing us somewhere. It will speed up the work, but it will kill our natural instincts. Believe me. Our memory loss is going to be great. In this digital era, as an auditor, will you like to remember something? I think everything is on your software now. Everything is in your storage. You don't want to remember anything for that matter. I was watching a video yesterday which said that in this digital world there are 2 or 3 things which are happening. One is the loss of memory, because earlier we used to remember every telephone by heart. We used to remember the addresses of all their relatives by heart, and we will send them something. And today, nobody remembers the telephone numbers. One only looks at the mobile and then searches the number and then dials it. And the second thing that it said, which meant great thing to me, was that it is leading to digital depression. The moment I post a photograph or any post I make on the Facebook or on the LinkedIn, I start searching how many people have liked it or disliked it. And if I don't comments on that, if I don't get the comments on that, I start feeling depressed. यार किसी ने पसंद ही नहीं किया मुझे, क्या हो गया? I think these are the pitfalls also. At the same time, I will only like to say that in this era, what is happening is that I have gone through your regulations, draft regulations, believe me. Some of the things you have done is fantastic. I really appreciate. I will come to that little later. There are some very positive features, and of course there are certain features which are debatable. But some of those features are there in India also, which are debatable, very frankly. Probably these have been taken from India, or the purpose is for a wider dispersal of the audits for that matter, and that can be justified, that may not be justified. But that's also one of the cases for that matter. Today the profession is actually, if you ask me, is struggling to maintain the independence. This entire debate, if at all someone has to regulate the profession, will any regulator provide me the independence in audit? My answer is no. No regulator is willing to give me independence. You talk of public interest entities. In the public interest entities, if appointment is still to be done, now it is a very debatable point that I am trying to raise. I have been raising it in India. People have been shouting at me. People have been throwing at me, what are you talking? If in public interest entities, the auditors have to be appointed by the management, and you keep on telling that you are being appointed by the shareholders, not by the management, I think it is the biggest myth. You are never appointed by the shareholders. You are appointed by the promoter only. Even if he controls 35% or 30%, he appoints you. You are not appointed by the shareholders. You hold a general meeting. How many shareholders participate in that? Rather, by design, you hold the meeting in such a manner that only you are attending, or your employees are attending, no one else is attending. Independence, to my mind, is the biggest problem. And unless you provide the independence, any regulator which will not provide the independence, I don't think we are going to succeed as an auditing profession. One change which must come from the regulator side, whosoever is the regulator. Creating fear psychosis is very easy, that if you don't do this, we will discipline you. But whether you have created that atmosphere that I can challenge the management. Look at the independent directors. Who appoints the independent directors? It is the promoter who appoints the independent director. Is the independent director independent? Let me ask a question. Sometimes I ask myself also. Is an independent director independent? The answer is no. If a retired bureaucrat, if a retired banker is getting 6 to 7 crore rupees per annum from the independent directorships, can he be independent? Which he didn't earn all his life. There are directors in Mahindra and Mahindra, there are directors in Reliance, there are directors in L&T whose commission only as non-executive directors, which is only 1% of the profits, will run into about 2 crore or 3 crore rupees per annum. How you can be independent? You will keep on protecting the promoter by hook and by crook. I have always maintained that independent director, you want to increase the sitting fee, you increase the sitting fee. You want to hold more number of meetings, do it. But don't link it with the profits of the company. Because the audit committee chairman himself is an interested party in ballooning the profits, for that matter, in certain cases. I will not say all the independent directors would do that, but similarly in the case of the auditors, I wanted to give a similarity of independence between the two. And if an independent director is not independent, who is the audit committee chairman, auditor is free to do anything. Let's be clear about it. He also doesn't bother then, because he is not being asked the questions. Unfortunately, our boards, the regulator is not trying to fix the responsibility on the managements. If at all the audit and accounting regulation has to grow, the boards must be competent. You cannot have an audit committee chairman who doesn't know the audit standard, who doesn't know the accounting standard. How you can have that kind of a director as an audit committee chairman? Who will question the financial statements? He does not know the balance sheet items. And you expect him to challenge the auditor. He does not know what is the meaning of ECL. You think that he will be able to question the auditor. How he can question the auditor? There's no way that he can question the auditor. Rimi, there are certain very, at times there is a fight between us and the management on certain points, between us and the auditors. And at times one has to tell the auditor that this is the job that you have not done. But for that you ought to know what is correct or what is wrong. Unfortunately, the entire regulation is coming on the audit side. It is not coming on the management side. If the regulation if the accounting and auditing has to improve, first improve the management side also. I think that's very important. And this is one issue which the institute must take up. which you people must also take up with the various regulators. You cannot have good accounting if the CFO is not prepared to give you the correct position. How will you give the correct position? There's no way. I've been writing in various newspapers that we always blame the auditors. Who prepares the financial statements? You issue a disciplinary proceeding against the chartered accountant who has audited the accounts, but what about the CFO who has given the accounts? After all, if at all there is a violation, first it is by him. Why you don't proceed against the company secretaries who do not disclose the correct names of the related parties? I think these are some of the issues which we need to take up basically. Another issue that is very close to one's heart is technology will come in. There is no denying the fact it has already come in. It is going to overtake everything. But whether the smaller firms are prepared for it. Wisdom of the profession cannot be in 10 or 20 or 100 of the firms only. Wisdom of the profession has to lie at a larger scale. You have to empower virtually everybody. That doesn't happen, unfortunately. Bigger firms have the money. Bigger firms have the money because of various reasons, not one reason. Smaller firms don't have the money to adopt technology. The regulator has to provide the technological support. I have been telling the institute, very frankly, for quite some time now, that you must buy the tools, create a platform, and then provide it to the various smaller firms. You can charge something for that, for whatever hits they give you. Because if the institute has got 3,000 crore rupees or 4,000 crore rupees, institute should invest on the members only. That will improve the quality of the audit and that will improve the respect of the profession. That's very important. You cannot have money lying in the bank of the institute and then you don't provide technological support. You cannot only hold seminars and webinars. Let's be very clear. I'm very clear on it. Webinars and seminars are not going to empower us. Empowerment will have to be done for the smaller firms by providing them the support, the right support, and the right support has to be by way of providing them these tools, which should be purchased by the institute on a common platform. Provide that support. If the documentation has to be in a particular format, let it be that way. If the internal audit has to be done in a particular manner, let it be that way. If a particular tool is the best, buy it, provide it to the members. Charge nominally to all the members. No member is shying away to pay to the institute for that matter. After all, we pay for every course that is held by the institute, 30,000, 50,000, 60,000. Whether it creates professional opportunity or not, that's not important, but we definitely want to undertake that course. So if you provide this facility for 10,000 rupees per annum, everybody will be able to take it. Will be more than willing to take it. Any regulator, whether it is institute or MCA or NAFRA, whosoever is there, they must provide that particular support. And the other thing, if the government keeps on, government may keep on talking about the creating bigger firms, that we want someone to compete with the big four or big six. But if all your tenders are skewed in the favor of only big six, then what do you expect? You must provide level playing field to everyone. You cannot have a condition in a tender that you should have a turnover of 200 crore rupees or 300 crore rupees. Then how many people will come in? And who will come in? And then you say that you must have branches internationally. Because you want to keep some people away. These tenders are specifically made for certain firms. This I have been again raising this particular issue. You have to provide a level playing field. I can well agree that they will still back those contracts, but at least provide somebody the opportunity to participate in that tender. You are denying them the liberty to participate in that tender. No, I think this is one thing which has been there for a very, very long time, and some or the other we have not been able to find a solution to this. And still the tenders keep on coming. Now one of the gentlemen has quoted rupee 1 in Delhi to get a contract. You know, you were talking of stamping. He quoted rupee 1 to get the tender because technically he was qualifying. So he said, fine, if technically I am qualifying, if I put rupee 1, nobody can deny me the contract. He quoted rupee 1 and got that contract. And there has been lot of hue and cry about that. Another thing is that every now and then, accounting and auditing profession is faced with these issues today. New concepts are emerging, the new laws are emerging. Now the latest is ESG, we all know. Do we have the talent for the ESG, even in the bigger firms?
Leave aside the smaller firms.
Creating that talent
Upskilling.
is very important because ESG is going to be the order of the day in the times to come. There is no doubt about it. You will not have the projects which can kill the society at the end. You have to have a consideration for the sustainability of the society under all circumstances. But believe me, you go on the road, whatever we may continue to say, we have developed these standards, that standards, out of 450,000 membership, how many of us are actually trained for ESG today? I don't think we have thousands even. We may not have a figure of even 2,500 who are trained in the ESG today. That is a factual position to be in. But that's going to be one of the major consulting areas. If we want that to happen, we need to create that environment in which that upskilling definitely takes place. And if that does not take place, probably we are nowhere. Keeping pace with the changing laws. Every jurisdiction, forget India, I'm not talking only India, believe me. Every jurisdiction today has a problem of changing laws. Whether it's due to foreign exchange or it's because of, you can say, the money laundering. How many of us are trained actually for detecting the money laundering? How many of us? And in the times to come, most of us will be hauled up for money laundering transactions, failing to detect as auditors. Mark my words today. We will be hauled up in the times to come for failing to detect the money laundering transactions. You look at because I read in your regulations that ISBA's ethics have to be followed. I am very happy with that. There is no doubt about it. But ISBA says one thing, NOCLER, non-compliance with the laws and regulations. It talks of Bribery Act. It says that auditor will have to find out whether any briberies have been given or not. I can't talk of your place, but in certain countries, without naming any country, without that nothing moves. And we all know. How do you report that? We already have a standard, SA 250, if you ask me, which says that if there are non-compliance with the laws and regulations, and which have a material impact on the financial statements, the auditor must report it. Which auditor has reported? Tell me even a single one. And today, in ethics, we have brought in, ISBA has brought in NOCLER, and they have made it mandatory. That whether it is money laundering or it is bribery or any other act. If you fail to detect it, you are gone. And if you detect it, please go and report it to the management. And if management fails to report it, you go and report to the authorities. How it is going to happen? I have my serious doubts about it, but I think the regulators will have to provide that support, that you go and report. If the regulators provide me that support, that you go and report and nothing will happen to you. After all, in every company, there is a whistleblower policy. And whistleblower is protected. If as an auditor I do blow the whistle, will I be protected or will I not be protected? I think that's the major question. And it's for the regulator to come up with some whistleblower policy. Today, if I resign, of course I find in your regulations also that if there is a cessation of a firm, in that particular case, what you need to do is that you have to discharge all your obligations towards the client before you cease to exist. In India also, if you want to resign from a particular assignment today, you have to file a form with the government. You have to explain the reasons for your resignation. You can't say कि साहब मेरे पास बाकी assignment है इसलिए मैंने छोड़ दिया. You can't say that. There's no way. Because if you take up another assignment the next day, the government can come back to you that you said that you are overworked and that is why I'm leaving you and you have accepted a new audit. And why do you resign normally? You resign only when you find something is wrong, you want to report, the client is not allowing you to report that. Not to an extent, it is a deterrent to the auditor also and deterrent to the client also. You always tell him कि मैं resign करने को तैयार हूँ, but I will write the reason. And if you say I will write the reason, he is scared. That much I can tell you. In one of the companies recently something happened, and as a director, someone said I am willing to resign. Because as a director also, if you have to resign now in a public interest entity, you have to, not even a public interest entity, otherwise you have to give the reason why you are resigning. He said, I am going to resign, but I will write the reasons. And the management was virtually touching his feet. कि बॉस बाकी कुछ भी करो, रह जाओ, हम सब ठीक कर देंगे पर रिजाइन मत करो इस, और रिजाइन करो तो रीजन मत लिखो. So if the auditor can write the reason and the regulator can protect him through this some kind of a policy of whistle blowing by the auditor, I think you will find the difference in the times to come, provided the regulators are serious or are having a will to do that. The problem is regulators don't have the will. They will lay down something, but when it comes to the implementation, they will not be backing you. That is the only problem that one gets into. But yes, one thing is very clear, that the SEBI says that you want to resign, you resign. But the quarter in which you are resigning, you have to complete that quarter. You can't resign without that. You can't leave it in lurch there. Because why you are resigning in this particular quarter? Because you wanted to report something which is not being allowed. So you complete it. You complete your obligation. Now this is something good by the regulator, if you ask me. If the regulator had not done it, the auditor would not have been empowered. So I think world over this is going to happen, if not today, tomorrow. That you will have to empower the auditors in one way or the other. Because SEBI came across number of cases where auditors were willing to resign. Of course, one of the common features is that you say that my fee is not commensurate to the work done. And there even SEBI can't do anything. Believe me. But SEBI or NAFRA can definitely bring it within the ambit of their inspections. ये तो कर ही सकते हैं. Because they feel suspicious कि why you are resigning, by saying कि जी आज तक तो ये पैसा ठीक था मेरे को, पर आज मुझे नहीं सूट कर रहा है, without having too much increase in the turnover. So you can't say that. So I think times will change, the auditors will become more powerful. This is what I am expecting. I'm a born optimist, if you really ask me. I personally feel the things go bad, but then they bounce back. It's not that. The things can't keep getting bad and bad. Ultimately, these will reverse. There has to be a reverse. So let us hope that this will also happen in the times to come. एक जो मुझे और सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज नजर आता है publicly, particularly in the case of the startups, valuations.
मुझे कहने की आवश्यकता ही नहीं।
What is happening in valuations? You look at the kind of valuations which are there and the way the public issues are coming world over. In India, I've been writing again on this issue that SEBI must look into the valuations, because when there was controller of capital issues, they used to look into the valuations. When SEBI came in, SEBI said, we will not look into this. Only the merchant banker will look into this. Merchant banker has got his own interest. He is not independent. His interest is paramount, because the more money he gets, the more commission he gets. But somewhere or the other, that is why there are certain issues which have come in and have fallen flat. Except for the first day, after that the issue is not to be seen. I will not name one particular issue where 70% erosion has taken place in the last 6 months only in one of the issues. Think of the poor investor. Now, valuation is one part, forecasting is another part. As an auditor, if somebody comes to me and says, prepare a project report or prepare something of that sort and forecast my sales, तो मैं उसकी sales कैसे forecast करूँगा? I can only rely upon the management assumptions and presumptions. But what hurts me the most, and I'm saying it openly to anybody, because some or the other I have lived my profession and I want to continue to live my profession till the time I breath my last. That you come up with any kind of forecast and you come with any kind of disclaimer. And those kind of disclaimers which make the entire forecast zero. And this is not the case of the smaller firms. This is the case of the bigger firms. You can't have that kind of forecasting. Either refuse it or base it upon. If you are projecting that your company will grow by 50% or 30%, you will have to find out what will be your share of the total market. But if that industry is shrinking, where from you will get that particular share? And that is happening galore, believe me. It is not in one or two cases. And that is why the regulator is coming on our head. Due to valuations, we don't look at, you talk of actuarial valuations. Forget about the public issues. Wherever the profitability is to be adjusted either upward or downward, one very good tool is the actuarial valuation with regard to the employee benefits at the time of retirement. You might be giving an increment of 7% on basic, but if the assumption is 5%, the entire thing changes. As an auditor, I can't ignore the assumptions which have been taken by the person concerned. If the ongoing rate is 10% or 7% or 8%, and if he takes absolutely a different rate for discounting, the entire thing changes. And in bigger companies, this one stroke can change the profits by hundreds of crores. Forget by a smaller amount. This is one area which has given a lot of setback to the credibility of the profession, believe me. And I think NFRA is now looking at it quite closely. Maybe in the times to come, we will have to start looking at it, and probably something will have to be done with regard thereto. Going concern I have already talked of. Another challenge is the remote work, working from home. How do you monitor your own staff? There may be tools, but I can tell you, when we hold webinars for our own office now, this last Saturday only, we had a webinar. And people switch on, people do join, but then switch off the videos. And after that, what is happening, nobody knows. And then, if you are smart enough, you start calling out, so and so, please let me know what is the answer to this. And there is no response for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. What is the point? Remote work should be permitted, there is no doubt. Post-COVID, it has become a law of the land. I don't want to discourage this remote work, but controlling the remote work, monitoring the remote work is a big challenge, because otherwise it pushes up your costs. Low morale is another challenge to the auditor. I talked of it earlier. Today you are so over-regulated, you don't have a high morale to actually undertake the audit. You start doubting everything of the client, but the client doesn't want to be doubted. And you don't have the incentive. And what happens in the bargain, I think some of the people in the bigger firms will be able to tell me. Advisory services cross-subsidize the audit work, audit fees. It is a matter of fact. In any bigger firm, it is the consulting work which ultimately subsidize the audit remuneration. If the partners of bigger four get more remuneration, it is primarily because of the fact, because of the consulting cross-subsidization it is happening. But on the other side, because of that audit work, probably they are able to get the consultancy. That's also a fact. Now the challenge before every regulator today is, and in India it is mounting. Of course, they brought in a section 144 also to the Companies Act, which has not worked so far very satisfactorily. That if you are the auditor, you cannot have these kind of works from the client, because that jeopardizes your independence. And there is no doubt about it. If your consulting fee is more than your audit fee, your independence is definitely jeopardized. There is absolutely no doubt about it. But everywhere this is one of the issues. But if you don't allow consulting, the firms will not grow. That's also a fact. At one time, some of the bigger firms had announced that we are hiving off our consulting wings. They have reversed. Each one of them have reversed their decisions. Each one of them reversed their decisions. The consulting will continue. Because if they don't have the consulting, they cannot grow. So you have to have a fine balance between the two, somewhere or the other. Now what is that balance? It's difficult to define. In India, we had gone on to the extent in the Companies Act that if you are, say, BSR and companies, which is a part of the KPMG, any other firm which is a part of the KPMG will not be able to take any other such work from that client. We had put that restriction. But people find ways and means to circumvent that. After all, there are practices which one need not talk about it, very frankly. IFAC has been trying in its own manner but has not succeeded on those issues so far. That's what I can say. I will like to deal with another few issues concerning you now, where when I said that I liked some of the things. One of the points which is emerging now all over the world is that what should be the entry level for the profession? Should it be 10+2 or should it be graduation? Most of the developed nations used to have it at graduation level. India started saying that we need to catch them young. We caught them young. But the younger faces, ultimately, their results might have been better so far as the CA profession is concerned. But when they confront a particular client, the results are not as good as that. Because the maturity level, I've always believed, whenever a student comes to me, I always tell a student or I tell a parent of a student, please put him into a college for 3 years. Let him enjoy his college life. It is a must for any one of us. Because that gives a very different feeling. Because the moment you get out of the school, you immediately become independent. Because in school you are made to sit. In college, it's absolutely a different atmosphere altogether. And when a person goes to a college, if he is trying to become over-independent, he loses the focus. If he is able to maintain himself, he gets maturity level. The problem has been that with a view to build more numbers, I was talking to Sachin that in the first 26 years of our profession, we generated only 15,000 chartered accountants. Today, every year we are creating 35 to 45,000 chartered accountants. That's the difference. No, there can be questions with regard to quality, there can be questions with regard to anything. I don't want to get into that. Because a chartered accountant is a chartered accountant at the end of the day. But then the training, if you are 10+2, then your training period should be different. Despite the fact that you have done the foundation course, etc. for 1 year. And if you are a graduate, then your training period should be different. I still remember when we were doing CA, the position was at that time there was no foundation in any case, but if you had got second class or first class, your training period used to get reduced by 1 year. That was the position of the CA, training at that time. Your training period would be reduced by 1 year if you are a graduate with a second class or first class. It was 4 years for them, 3 years for them and 4 years for the others. I think similar principle can apply here also. The regulators must see this. And wherever you are, I personally feel India has reduced the training to 2 years only now. This is disastrous for me. I have been one of the very vocal opponents of it. You can't have a training for 2 years and out of that 2 years, how much time he will be able to give, how much time he will not be able to give. Nobody knows. You need to have a training period of 3 years. I will not say 5 years, I will not say 6 years, but 3 years was a good period for the training in any case. And the other thing that I will like to say is that we should not have the training only with the chartered accountants. I think the trend is changing and there are jurisdictions where it is not essential to take the training with the CAs only. You can go to an industry also. In India also there is a 1 year industrial training permitted, but that has to be under a CA there. If a student can be groomed better in any entity, in any organization. I think let him be groomed there. If a smaller firm doesn't have the work, why should he get into the smaller firm? Most of the people want to go to the big four, let them go to the big four. But if you permit the students to get into the industry for the training purpose, and they can be groomed in the industry, I think that's better rather than going to a smaller firm where there is no work. I've been a very strong advocate of that the articles entitlement should be linked with the availability of the work with the firm. You cannot say that every firm will be entitled to, every chartered accountant will be entitled to train these many articles if his experience is this much, his experience is 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. No. It should be linked with the availability of the work. मैंने हमेशा एक बात फील की है, अगर मेरा अपना बच्चा हो तो मैं क्या चाहूँगा? I will want him to be trained in the best possible manner. You can't think of, जो आपके पास आता है वो भी तो बच्चा है ना, किसी का बच्चा है. He should be also trained in the same manner. He should get the same facility which you want for your own child. There's no way that you should discriminate there. But this fault lies with the students also. They want to enter a firm. There are many students who want to enter a firm where there is no work because they get more time to prepare for the examination. That's also paradoxical. How to resolve that? We tried to introduce e-diary system in India. We had resolved as a council that we'll introduce e-diary system on a quarterly basis. The student will submit an e-diary to the institute, countersigned by the principal, and that will give an indication whether he has worked or he has not worked and in which areas he has worked. But it was not implemented. For whatever reasons I don't want to get into. Important aspect is if you train a student, he will get far higher fee, far higher remuneration. I've always believed that if you, I will give you one example. We used to have 14 days GMCS. If you people all must be remembering, जो अभी qualify किए हैं, हमारे 14 दिन की GMCS होती थी, General Management Communication. और एक हमने की है हैदराबाद में 3 महीने का रेजिडेंशियल कोर्स, और उससे पहले हम करते थे NIFM में, नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट, 3 महीने का कोर्स. All those students who used to go to either Hyderabad or to NIFM used to fare much better in the interviews and used to get higher remuneration compared to the students who were doing only 14 days GMCS. Because this 14 days GMCS served no purpose except for bringing them together and having birthday bashes or something or the other. That's all. Or they will create the groups, WhatsApp group or something of that sort, so that they can communicate with each other, and it used to serve the election purpose also very well, very frankly. कि आपने 50 आदमियों का 150 आदमियों का ग्रुप बना लिया तो वो इलेक्शन की तैयारी हो गई, ठीक है, कोई ना कोई उनमें से खड़ा हो जाएगा. I don't think that was the purpose of GMCS. Now we are improving on that. We are far better on that today. What one is trying to say is that we need to be working on certain things to improve this regulation, and who will do it? Either institute will do it, or the government will do it, or any other regulator will do it. Someone has to do it at the end of the day. Similarly, the continuing professional education, you are doing it today. Institute does it every time. But you cannot have a webinar or you cannot have a seminar of 12 CPE Hours with 48 speakers in that. You can't have it. There's no way that you can do it. You call 3 GST experts and give them 20 minutes to talk. Total, three of the speakers. For what you are calling them? I'm being blunt, because there's no point in talking goody-goody all the time. CP must serve its purpose. It can't happen in USA. There's no way. Their AICPA will only give you the membership, will have the peer review, will have the CP, but exams are not conducted by AICPA. That's done by NASBA. And who licenses you for the practice? It is the state boards. But who licenses you for the public interest entities practice? That is PCOB. बिल्कुल अलग है, totally different. हमारे यहाँ सब के सब फंक्शन हम कर रहे हैं, बुराई नहीं है, but then the self-regulation must work. I think it is debatable whether the self-regulation has worked successfully or it has not worked successfully. That's the only debate that I am trying to raise. Now, someone will say that why there should be 5 different bodies doing it. Some will say it is working very well. But I think AICPA is working very well. There's no doubt about it. And they are the only body who are not willing to negotiate with you, with any institute. सबसे कम पेपर उन्हीं के, just 4. The least of the papers are with them. But they are the most effective. Most effective in the sense, they are not willing to budge. Accounting standard कौन set करेगा? FASB करेगा. आप ये देखो, accounting standard set करेगा FASB, exam लेगा NASBA, membership देगी ICPA, peer review करेगी AICPA, continuing professional education करेगी AICPA, licensing करेंगे state boards, और पब्लिक इंटरेस्ट एंटिटीज के लिए जाना तो पीसीओबी के पास जाओ. जो छोटी कंपनीज के ऑडिटर्स हैं उनकी डिसिप्लिन करेंगे स्टेट बोर्ड्स, और जो पब्लिक इंटरेस्ट एंटिटी की डिसिप्लिन है दैट लाइज विद द पीसीओबी. ये भी एक मॉडल है. हमने नफरा जो आई दैट इज मोर ऑन द लाइंस ऑफ द पीसीओबी इफ यू आस्क मी. नफरा didn't have much of the staff to begin with, but now they are getting more and more powers, they are getting more and more funds. And I think in a reasonable period, they have been able to pass some of the very, very good orders. Very stern, but very good orders. That's a factual position to be in. And they come out with a really detailed order for that matter. It's not that they will just give you 1-line order or 2-page order or 3-page order. At times, a strict regulator is also better. And I think NAFRA has been able to create at least that fear psychosis amongst the auditors that we need to do the documentation. NAFRA has been able to send a message that unless your documents are through the technology, we will not accept it. You can't have laptops in the office which are enabled, that pen drive enabled. If you have pen drive enabled laptops, your first test of the security fails. It is to that extent. Because if somebody sends a mail, you can trace it, you can track it. But if somebody takes the information on the pen drive and that then goes out, nobody can say what has happened. This is NAFRA which has been able to bring this to the table, that you cannot have, even firms like us do not have now pen drive enabled laptops. Let's be very clear about it. I think that's the change which has happened. So to that extent it is good. There's no doubt about it in my mind. And then the other thing that one will like to say is एंट्री का हो गया, लाइसेंसिंग का भी हो गया, और रेगुलेशन हो गया, बैलेंसिंग बिटवीन ऑडिट का भी हो गया, ऑडिट सर्विसेज. एक मुझे आई कुडंट गेट वन लाइन समवेयर इन योर रेगुलेशंस, दैट इज ओमानी. Only Omani will be able to get the studentship. एक आर्टिकल मैं कहीं पे पढ़ रहा हूँ, ओमानी स्टूडेंट्स, आप देखिएगा उसको, गौर से देख लीजिएगा, बिकॉज फॉर द अदर स्टूडेंट्स आई हैव नॉट बीन एबल टू फाइंड व्हाट विल बी देयर. So that was one concern to me, very frankly. And then they go on to say somewhere that when he's in the training period, he may not sign a report. Can he sign a report? After that तो ठीक है ना. During the training, can he sign a report? But उन्होंने लिखा may not sign a report. आप इसको देख, आई एम जस्ट ट्राइंग टू ब्रिंग इट टू योर नॉलेज, यू जस्ट लुक एट इट. मुझे जो अच्छी चीज़ लगी, उन्होंने कहा कि अगर आपको रजिस्ट्रेशन करवानी है फर्म की, प्लीज कम टू अस, बट ऑल्सो कम विद ए इंडेमनिटी पॉलिसी फॉर द थर्ड पार्टी लायबिलिटी. हमारे यहाँ नहीं है. आई रियली लाइक दैट. एवरी फर्म टुडे which is in the accounting or auditing profession should have this particular policy. Because without that you cannot. Of course, for criminal liability, nothing, there cannot be a policy, but for any civil liability, there has to be a policy, and that policy should be there in any case. They have made it a condition, precondition for giving you the registration, licensing. I really like that particular thing, and of course, they have got the power to seize the documents. NAFRA does have the power to seize the documents. You have got the power to seize the documents. NAFRA does have the power to seize the documents. Cessation वाला मैंने already आपसे कह दिया, बात कर ली आपसे. Profession of law not permitted. India, we have permitted, but the bar is not permitting. In India, we do not have the objection of CAs to practice law along with CA. But the Bar Association does not permit CA to be a part of your profession. They have debarred their members to undertake the CA practice. We have allowed it, for that matter. And here you have also said that no commercial activity can be undertaken. We have also said that no commercial activity can be undertaken. But we have now gone a bit ahead. We are allowing futures and options, which can be taken up by the members, because why, I don't know, but this is something which has been permitted of late. You talk of maintenance of records for a period of 10 years, we talk of for 7 years. Because probably in your income tax it might be required for 10 years. In our case, these are only for 7 years. So that could be one reason. Your categorization of firms. So I am coming to the real issue. Categorization of the firms and the audit size, basically. In India, this kind of practice is there when it comes to C&AG audits, but in a very indirect manner. There we say that if you have these many partners, this kind of a revenue, these many people holding these kind of certificates, the length of your practice of the firm, we give them some weights. And if a partner has continued for a period of 1 year, तो उसका कोई weight नहीं है. You have to complete at least 1 year before you start getting the weight. You are not talking of partners, you are talking of the chartered accountants. And what you are talking of is that so far as the first 2 categories are concerned of the firms, they can undertake public interest entities audits, others cannot. The banks and financial institutions also. I think in all fairness, it's a good proposal, very frankly, because every firm may not be able to undertake the audit of a bank or a financial institution. You need to have some kind of an experience. After all, Reserve Bank of India has also laid down the empanelment norms for this case, in the case of the central statutory auditors. It's not that they have not laid it down. In our case, borrowings is not the criteria for this. The C&AG doesn't have that criteria that you have the funded or unfunded limits in that case. But turnover, paid up capital, and is one of the criteria. There also they have laid down the norms that which will be Maharatna, which will be Navratna, and which will be the other cases. And they start allotting it based upon the weights of the firm. The firm which has got the maximum weight will get the best of the audits. The firm which has got the second highest weight, they will get the second audit. I don't know what is the concept here, but in India, we have the concept of the joint audit in the case of the public sector undertakings. All the bigger companies like IOC, like ONGC have 4 auditors each or 5 auditors each of the same category. It is a different matter that some may have 125 points, one may have 128 points, one may have 130 points. But if you are lower than that, you may not be able to get it. So this categorization of firms, institute doesn't do it, but RBI and C&AG to an extent do it. RBI has stopped it. RBI has now come out only with what is the minimum eligibility criteria. Then they have left it to the banks to appoint anybody out of them. Now, like our eligibility of the firms for the banks is about 800 firms. And if you are in that, the bank can pick up any one of them out of that 800. It's for their audit committee. And if audit committee wants to lay down further norms, they are free to do that. So far as the number of audits is concerned, here you have started with 300, then you go to 200, you go to 100, 100, then you go to 60, and at the end you go to 105. 105 is justified because of the reason that the kind of clientele they will be handling, the fee will be very low. Otherwise they will not be able to survive. Otherwise one can say that if the upper category is 60, why should they be allowed 105? Because if you don't allow them that, because you have denied them the audits of the higher category, then they may not be able to survive. So it is a case which is debatable. Should it be done? Should it not be done? Most of the jurisdictions it is not done. Let's be very clear about it. But like in India, I have told you that some of the regulators themselves, C&AG itself is a regulator for the public sector enterprises. And RBI is a regulator for the banking enterprises. They have done it. Even in India, under the Companies Act, you cannot have more than a specified number of listed entities audit. We also have that. Even for the purpose of tax audit, Institute has laid down the limit that per partner you can have 60 audits, tax audits. So it is not that this is something new which has come in here. So it is there, very frankly, but then the cases can be different, people can argue it differently, people may, जिसको नहीं मिल रहा होगा वो कहेगा मुझे नहीं मिल रहा है, और जिसको ज़्यादा मिल रहे होंगे, but if you want a wider dispersal of the work, that everyone, after all, Reserve Bank of India has also done it in a different manner. Reserve Bank of India says that you cannot have more than 2 banks and these many NBFCs. So if you look at it, it is similar to that, very frankly. Here you have not restricted it to a particular specific entity that how much clients within that category you can have. Whereas Reserve Bank of India has come down very clearly, and Reserve Bank of India has laid down a rotation every 3 years. In the case of the banks as well as in the case of the NBFCs. And in the case of any bank or NBFC where there are deposits or the balance sheet size is beyond a particular threshold, I think it is 10,000 crores, in that case the joint audit is a must. So what one is trying to convey to you is that there are regulations which are good. You say that you will follow all international standards. So when you say you will follow all international standards, which means both in accounting, auditing and ethically also. Now, when ethics is a bit complex, so far as accounting and auditing are concerned, you may still be able to follow it. But there could be complications basically. But your law very clearly says, now it protects you. That is where I say that if your regulator has now said it, that you are supposed to follow all the international standards, the companies are supposed to follow and you are supposed to follow. It's as simple as that. So I personally feel that your regulations which have come in the draft regulations, I don't know when it will be finalized, to me, there doesn't seem to be much of wrong in that, very frankly. Of course, there can be always some issues here and there, which will be there. But overall, I find it to be okay, in line with, at least in some cases, these are comparable with India, for that matter. Maybe somebody has tried to pick it up from India, not directly, but indirectly, for that matter. But worldwide, whether there is such kind of restriction, I'm doubtful. Not in US at least, not in Canada, that I know. There are no such restrictions there. Because in all the developed economies, it's a laissez-faire economy. You don't have that kind of a restriction in those cases. But I think where people want to be sure that not too much of work should go to one particular firm, because the quality can suffer in that case. There's no doubt about it, ultimately. But then there can be different arguments in that. So this is what I will like to talk about your regulations, because as I said that I found it to be, of course, one variation is that when you get into certain categories, lower categories, when you get to the size of the audit, there the difference is too large basically from one category to another, particularly in case of the you can say the revenue as well as the asset side.
Asset size. In the first rule, it's not
Much of a difference. In the third also there's, but fourth and fifth and third, when you shift from third to fourth, there's too large a difference basically. I am reminded of when we were introducing the tax accounting standards way back in 98, 99, and we made accounting standards mandatory. We had 3 categories and we said 50 crore turnover, that was category 1. And then the next category was 40 lakh. Why we made 40 lakh? There was a political reason for it. Because the tax audit was up to 40 lakhs. If you had said higher level for accounting standards, say you had said it is 15 crore or 20 crores, the government would have said that if up to 20 crores there is no accounting standard applicable, why should we make tax audit applicable in those cases? So that was the reason. So here also that difference in the third, fourth category and fourth and fifth category is quite large. There is one thing that is emerging worldwide now, and that probably could be my last argument also. Whether there could be threshold limits for the audits. India, we are going to see the change. Up to a turnover of 1 crore rupees, there will be no audit now. It is coming in the company's amendment bill now, which was never there. But our challenge is not here. 1 crore is not the challenge. 1 crore, it doesn't make any difference to the auditors. The challenge is that they are going to say 1 crore or as may be prescribed. The moment you give this power to the bureaucrat, because for that you will not have to go to the parliament again. Because that will not be the change in the act, that will be change in the regulations, rules. When there is a change in the rule, the bureaucrat himself can notify that. The ministry will do it. So as may be prescribed means that today it is 1 crore, tomorrow it could be 50 crores. This is what we are seeing in the tax audit. We have moved from 40 lakh to 1 crore. And then also they say that if 95% of the transactions are through the banking route and not in cash, Even if there are 6% transactions in the cash, then this is 1 crore is not the limit, then it is a higher limit. So tomorrow something of that sort can come to the audit also. Nobody knows what will happen. But worldwide this is going to happen, because even in UK, there is no audit for the smaller companies. Now in the US also, the position is the more or less same. In developed economies, all everywhere. Very frankly, in UAE earlier, where was the audit? Where was the audit? There was no audit. It is only when the banks required it to be audited, then the audit used to take place. So what is happening is that a thought process is coming to the minds of the regulators, that if the person who is going to give you the money, if he wants it to be audited, if he wants the satisfaction out of it, then he can get it audited. Why should every person be audited for that matter? Now, what has happened in India yesterday only, day before yesterday, the definition of the small company has been changed. 10 crore paid up capital and 100 crore rupees turnover. 100 crore rupees turnover. And a medium enterprise will be with a turnover of 250 crores. Now, Caro will not be applicable to a small company. Up to 100 crore rupees turnover, you will not be having any Caro. And if you are having a turnover of 100 crore, you will be having a bank borrowing of to the extent of 20 to 25 crores. So, मेरे ख्याल हमने ये सोचना शुरू किया कि हम इतने बड़े हो गए, इकोनॉमी इतनी ग्रो कर गई है कि हमें 25 करोड़ के लोन की फिक्र नहीं है, which is a dangerous signal, very frankly. One has to be really cautious as we go up. You cannot go up straight away to 100 crores from 10 crores. So I think worldwide this phenomena may pick up in the times to come, if not today, tomorrow. But one thing is sure, disciplinary mechanism in respect of public interest entities will be with someone else rather than with the institutes. That's bound to happen everywhere. That's not going to be only the case of India. That's not going to be the case of US. That's not going to be the case of UK. In UK it is FRC, basically, which deals with it. It is going to happen everywhere. Public interest entities, their auditors will be subjected to a far, far greater scrutiny than what it is happening today in the times to come. So it is a wake-up call for each one of us. Better wake up, start working, start shielding yourself. That's all I can say. Thank you very much, friends. Thanks a lot for a very patient hearing.
Thank you so much for your enlightening words, sir. I've never seen anyone talking for 2 hours without a presentation these days. The floor is open for questions.
Good evening, sir. I have two questions to ask you.
Please, go ahead.
One is, like last week, there was a webinar on revisions to the Code of Conduct and Ethics. Like advertising is going to come into picture as such. What would be the future of this profession considering advertising into the framework? The second one is, what is the roadmap ahead as far as the full convergence that AS and in AS, all the companies will follow uniformly?
I think you have raised two very, very valid issues. Number one, so far as advertisement is concerned, it will not be fully advertisement. I don't think the institute is going to allow that. But yes, we will do it in a manner that surrogate advertisement which was taking place earlier should not happen, and if at all it has to happen, everyone should be able to advertise. I have always held one opinion. who will be able to advertise? If you want to advertise in Times of India or Economic Times full page ad today, what is the cost of that today? It is almost 80 to 90 lakh rupees. I don't think any smaller organization can do that. So it is to the advantage of the bigger firms, but then let it be. Now I think the time is coming where the PMO is talking of creating bigger firms, Indian firms, there's no doubt about it, but then lot of work has to be done on that. It is not that easy. One thing that I didn't talk of is that worldwide, probably, like in Canada, some of the institutes merged, but still in UK it has not happened. In US it has not happened. In India there has been a talk since 1999 that why ICWA, CA and company secretary should merge. It makes no sense to have 3 institutes in the country, very frankly, if you ask me. I still remember there were many irregularities in ICWA in 99 when Mr. Chajal was the president. And we had gone to Mr. Arun Jaitley at that time, and we had told him that if you want to merge ICWA with us, we are willing to do that. Because we were in absolute gaining position. Even if it happens today, suppose our 4,50,000 members become ICWAs in one stroke. There probably only 1 lakh members will become CS in one stroke. We will be able to, but ICWA will never agree to this. The problem is that we have a common ministry, but the ministry is not able to prevail upon. If the ministry is able to prevail upon, then we will not have 3 institutes. Very frankly, CPA, CA institutes have merged. Even in Australia, these have merged. It is not that it has not happened. Why should we have multiple of the institutes? Let there be, let company secretaries do some of the work, because we are all talking of multidisciplinary partnerships today. Multidisciplinary partnerships can take place easily amongst whom? CS, ICWS and company secretaries, if you ask me. But the government is saying you admit MBAs also, you admit engineers also, you admit architects also. No, theoretically it looks very nice, very frankly speaking, कि जी आप सभी को ले लीजिए अपने fold में. But at times there could be problems. MBAs are not subjected to any disciplinary mechanism anywhere. Where engineers are subjected to any disciplinary mechanism. You need to have a board where they can also be disciplined if they commit a mistake. Because if the reputation will be lost of MDP, the reputation will be lost of the firm in which this MDP has been formed, where either CS or ICWS or company secretaries will be dominant. The issue is on, and I think Mr. Sanjeev Sanyal, who is the advisor in the PMO, is very active on this, very frankly, and it is his brainchild that we need to have bigger firms in India, the Indian bigger firms, basically. So let us see what is going to happen so far as that issue is concerned. So far as your second question is concerned, I can say that it is the most difficult thing to happen in India. Because if you visit Mufassil towns, places like even Amritsar, Ludhiana, Chandigarh, Ambala, and in south also, and in west also, there are places like Ahmednagar or other places. The size of the clientele is so small at times places. If you introduce IFRS there, it becomes a problem. Who applies? Today, even in the case of listed companies, we are not able to introduce ECL in a proper manner. CFOs don't understand ECL. What to talk of anything else? And tomorrow we are saying that this will be understood by someone else at a lower level, where the people do not have even the accountants. They only have the part-time accountants for GST compliance or for income tax compliance. So I don't see in the near future, at least in my lifetime, that it is going to happen. I am 73. Even if I give myself another 5 to 10 years, it's not going to happen. Rather, in India, when IFRS was to be introduced, I still remember I was the president, Sir David Tweedy came to us that you adopt IFRS. We refused it, point blank. We said, we are a sovereign nation. We cannot copy you word by word. Whatever you may give us, will not copy it. We will definitely test it to our conditions also. And that is why in the first, when the IFRS were adopted in India, not adopted, when we went in for the convergence projects, there were about 11 divergences. And all thoroughly discussed, and in the interest of the industry, interest of the nation. And now, of course, we are trying to come around, since the industry has got adjusted to it, the country has got adjusted to it, we'd like to now see that everything falls in place. That is my answer to you, sir.
Sir, my name is Ravi. I just joined. Thank you, sir.
You don't have to give your name, sir.
Sir,
You have been the chairman, sir.
no, sir. Just to introduce to the people. Okay, sir. I just recently joined one of the audit firm in Dubai. It's a Dubai-based company which I joined, and I applied to the institute COP. Then they rejected the COP, saying that you are joined a business, not an audit firm. And the reason they gave is that your firm is not registered in India. Your registration is not in India. So the audit firm's definition is that we need to be based in India, then only we will have 100% COP. And what solution they gave is that you join the business as a employee and apply for a part-time COP. Which I didn't like it. So I want to just understand, because you are the part of the institute and I'm also...
I'm not a part of the institute.
You was.
Management's right now. I was there till 10, 11, and of course,
Sir,
as a
you
council member till 2013.
Sir, I understand, sir. If you can guide me something
For the
on
last 12 years,
something on the pathway, how I can respond to
yes,
that.
I've been a part of the government committees thereafter. There is no doubt about it. You see, unfortunately, as the law stands today, even with regard to MDP, the main flaw is in our regulations. Our regulations are of 1949 and then time and again amended somewhere or the other. Your problem has no solution as of now, very frankly I will tell you. Because we can't allow that kind of a name even as per the regulations, if you are becoming a partner somewhere. In our case, you have to have names of the various partners, then you can have abbreviations of their names, basically. Or if you are not able to get that name, you can use the name of your father in between somewhere, mother, child, wife, that is permitted. But the kind of name that you are giving premier, I think, that is the name. That is a general name, generic name that we will not be able to provide. As per regulations today, what happens tomorrow, nobody knows. Name is also one of the problems.
Thanks.
And the similar problem was faced by a chartered accountant in Merit recently, and he also had to do something else. Rather, institute was guiding him कि तुम ये कर लो जैसे आपको guide किया ना. He also refused to do that.
Yeah,
It was 72, but you are younger, smarter than anybody in this room.
I hope, I only wish my wife could have been here.
Now it's working? Sir, I have a hypothetical question. Because being a chartered accountant, I'm into practice for the last 10 years, more than 10 years. And I have not done even a single audit. Okay. Because to be very honest and very practical, I don't understand the concept of audit at all. Okay. As you said, the independence. Because I don't see any independence in audit, in any audit. It's a private company, it's a listed company, be it any company. Because as an auditor, we seek out the work from the same people, right? And as an auditor, we have an obligation to find out, something wrong. And if you try to find out something wrong, then they will kick you out, right? That's a common practice, right? So to have some kind of integrity of audit work, do we see some kind of process of some kind of a body which is going to take the responsibility of assigning audit work? So in future, or
This is one issue which I discussed at length rather. I personally feel that even if we all wish, the government will not do it. Indian government will not do it. And industry will not allow it to happen. You see, you and me may have strong arms, but we don't have other muscle power. It is as simple as that. That muscle power rests with the industry. Industry will never allow that to happen. Let's be very clear about it. I can only share with you that when IFRS was to be introduced in the country, Dr. Manmohan Singh had given a commitment to G20 that we will introduce IFRS effective 1/4/2011. Nobody in the country thought that we will be able to do it. I was the president and Mr. Manoj Fadnis was the chairman ASB. Thanks to Manoj Fadnis and his team and efforts, we could make sure that by December we could get those standards notified in India. And there was a very interesting case on related party disclosures. In India we use the word spouse. In international standard, there is a word domestic partner. अब हिंदुस्तान में काउंसिल मेंबर डोमेस्टिक पार्टनर को सुन के उछल गए कि हिंदुस्तान में डोमेस्टिक पार्टनर कैसे हो सकता. काफ़ी समझाने की कोशिश की, but some of the council members were very agitated that we can't allow this word to happen and to go on in our accounting standard. We went to Mr. Malegam, he was the chairman NACAS at that time. He said, आज नहीं होगा, कल होगा, don't worry. But it is an international term, let it be there. It is still there. It is still there. So जब IFRS भी आ रहे थे तब उस वक्त प्रॉब्लम आई, खूब आई. हम चले गए, हमने नोटिफाई करवा दिया. But two brothers never wanted it to happen. For any reason, whatever reason it was. Minister was changed. I'm saying it openly here. Minister was changed to scuttle the entire process and it didn't happen. What else do you want to say? It is very difficult, sir. At times there are political pressures, there are industry pressures, there are other pressures. And if someone doesn't have the guts to take it on, head on. When Mr. Arun Jaitley came in as the finance minister in 2014, one line he wrote somewhere that will introduce Ind AS in the country. And that was the period when Ind AS came in. It is the political will which prevailed and he didn't allow anyone to come in. Why GST happened in India? It's because of Mr. Arun Jaitley. He was the one who convinced every chief minister that, okay, you want this concession, take this concession, but GST has to come.
First of all, thank you for your words of wisdom, sir. And you're the one of the past presidents who are making it for the 4th time or 5th time to the country, and we should give him a big hand for that. Very quickly, I just wanted to update some things relating to Oman, as rightly pointed out by our chairperson Unmesh. It's been a transformational journey for Oman in a regulatory space over the last 2-3 years, including the fact the one governing the auditing and accounting profession shifted from Ministry of Commerce and Industry to FSA. And we've had the pleasure of having one of the past chairmen of ICAI being with the regulator also. So I wanted to also clarify that in Oman there is no...
You are giving him credit or discredit?
Credit, obviously. We are very proud. Yeah.
शेरो शायरी शुरू हो जाएंगे अभी.
Yeah. So luckily in Oman, there are no directors' fees linked to profit. So Oman has been quite conservative in many ways, as you rightly pointed out, that you have gone through the new, regulations, and given, I'm happy to note that you didn't find anything apparently
I
wrong.
found it to be good, very frankly. Of course, there can be differences of opinion at times, because you say that individual office firm is different. Now, you are talking of office as a proprietor, you are talking of a firm as a partnership firm maybe. So, you could simply say a firm, because even an individual can create a firm of the chartered accountant. That's not an issue. But to me, those things don't matter, because English is, every country has its own way of looking at the English.
Yeah. So that is just clarifications, but I wanted to ask you just two questions to you. One, I know that you always think differently, and even, to stand, and while we were all sitting at 73, I didn't want to remind your age, but to stand in front of us and speak for 2 hours without any notes or without any presentation, it's a great thing. We all have to learn from you. Yeah. So since you always had the out-of-the-box thinking, and we all have considered you as our mentors, I just wanted you to share with us, during your tenure, you pointed out so many valid concerns, So are there anything as incidents you have changed, since you were in the forefront? It would be interesting to know.
I will tell you 3 or 4. Which were resolved in the council, but were not carried forward by the others. I don't want to get into that. Who didn't carry it forward, I will not say, but we got it resolved in the council. One was with regard to the tendering process, that if you tender at a fee which is lower than your direct cost even, you should be subjected to disciplinary proceedings. There's no way that you can quote at a price, which is lower than your direct cost. Because we have the cases in NHAI, etc., where they say that you will depute 2 chartered accountants on a regular basis, on a daily basis, and you still quote about 10,000 rupees per month. It can't happen. There's no way that it should happen. Very frankly, or 15,000 rupees. The other thing that we had got done was the e-diary. I was very clear that e-diary has to be introduced, but it couldn't. One on which I couldn't bring the council to a consensus was with regard to CPE Hours biometric attendance. I was very clear that we should have biometric attendance in the CPE Hours. Because in our study circles, whatever is happening, I don't want to even share, even today. I don't want these CPRs to be sold here. I don't want CPR should become a gaining point for some study circle or some branch. You gain out of it because you have a charge fee from 100 people and only 20 people come in and you save on 80 plates. That cannot be the way the CPRs have to be undertaken. But then the council didn't agree on that. But other points they had agreed. And then the revision of the syllabus that one could get through. At that time, the revision of the syllabus as well as the, you can say, the study material, both for the intermediate as well as the final. And one entered into the agreement with Ireland and Canada. Canada, I was sitting in Delhi and signing it on video. I didn't go to Canada to sign it, very frankly. There are a number of things which are there. If you really ask me, one does remember. I still think that when I laid down my office, I had prepared a list of 39 things which we did that year.
Wow.
But some of them, and one was that I wanted virtual classes because these all mushroom growth of these private coaching classes. One wanted to control it. That we charge, today if you ask me, we don't have our funds. It is all student money. If I start reporting segmentally, I do not have any members' funds. We spend more on members than earning from members. It is all student money that we are having. Believe me, thanks to the examination system, that the number of times the student has to come and appear. I definitely wanted virtual classes. We finalized it with one of the companies in Chennai. I put the responsibility on Ramaswamy because I knew that ultimately it will be carried over next year because he was the vice president. We inaugurated that on 5th January 2011. Why it was not carried forward, I can't say. We had started for CPT students, but it was not carried forward. One feels bad about it. Unfortunately, our council has become president driven. It is not council driven. If this institute has to grow anywhere, it has to be council driven. You must have a vision document before you, break it, you may have 25 years vision, break it into 4 years now because the council term is 4 years, break it into 4 years period, and at the end of every 4th year, find out what you have been able to do or what you have not been able to do. If you don't do it, there's nothing. You can't have regional council in North incurring a loss of 4.51 crore in 1 year. It is my money, it is student money. How can anybody do it?
Absolutely.
And we are all mute spectators to that. It may sound to be a bit harsh to somebody, but there cannot be a loss in a regional council activity. When we charge for every seminar, we don't provide money for Holi Milan or Diwali Milan. We provide money for seminars, educational programs. You do as many educational programs as you like, but you can't have that kind of situation. There are many things that one can talk of, very frankly, but one time not permitting. And
certainly, this is not to test, sir, but just, I thought the members will benefit from your experience. What are the new things you have brought,
No,
that's the
idea
of the question.
Not many things which can be done today, very frankly.
Yeah.
We can improve CPE Hours, we can improve peer review process, we can improve even, why should I fight with NAFRA on SA 600? We should sit down. In India, we are the only country where we have a SA 299 with regard to joint auditor's responsibility. There is no other country where we have that standard. One can agree, yes, okay, in a joint audit, there should be responsibilities with regard to the work which one has done. Now, there are certain people in NAFRA who are not interested to listen. There are certain people here who are not willing to listen. I personally feel that in case of a joint audit, or in the case where you are the parent auditor and there are branch auditors or the component auditors, you should be able to issue instructions to them and make sure that it has happened. NAFRA is not willing to recognize that, unfortunately. NAFRA says no, only principal auditor is responsible. Bhai, usne branch auditor appoint kiya hai. I am issuing him the instruction that this is to be seen. I told NAFRA also, I told the institute also that you should compromise on, he will test it. The parent auditor will test it to what extent he has actually complied with his instructions. But you can't expect the parent auditor to go and get the things done. Ek issue jo mera discuss karna reh gaya, that is the related party transactions. Today, if at all we are going down, it is our ignorance or it is our neglecting the related party transactions. With regard to the arm's length or with regard to the necessity even of the related party transaction. If you look at Reliance Home, you look at Reliance Capital. Reliance Home in 1 quarter writing of almost 36,000 crore rupees or 3,600 crore rupees, I am forgetting the figure. But a home company doing it, whereas in a home finance company there is no question of write-off because you provide loans against the home. Because all money has been siphoned off through the related party transactions. What happened in Diwan housing? 30,000 crore rupees lost. All related party transactions. So that's the problem. I think this is something that every auditor will have to be careful about, because today every regulator is focusing only on the related party transactions. Now SEBI has come up with so much of guidance for the, they have come out with the minimum requirements which have to be disclosed to the audit committee on related party transactions. Let me first thank Unmesh, because I was coming here for some other purpose. Actually, some meeting was there. So I talked to Mubin, and Mubin said, okay, he will talk to Unmesh, and then we spoke to each other 4 months back, because the meeting was decided 4 months back. And I must compliment him and thank him for the opportunity to meet all the friends here and his managing team. That's all I can say. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. In an era where truths are judged, it's very difficult to call out the bitter truths. And there is no other better occasion than what we witnessed when many truths have been called out without mincing words. Thank you, sir, for reiterating that independence is the foundation on which our profession is built. And regulations are here, or should be here, to protect the independence. And those regulations should be implemented in all its spirits. Thank you so much, and it's such a wonderful pleasure to have you here, sir. Now let me hand over the proceedings to CA Ajil James. In the meantime, let me also remind that whosoever has not registered, please reach out to CA Sarita Madan to claim your CPE points and also mark your attendance. Thank you so much.
To express our gratitude, I invite CA Mubin Khan, our past chairperson, along with our chairperson, Mr. CA Unmesh, to felicitate today's speaker, Mr. CA Amarjit Chopra. To conclude this evening, now I invite CA Ashish Subedar, Treasurer of Oman, our Muscat chapter.
Good evening, everyone. I'll not take much time. I can see already few people have already started dinner before I formally announce dinner is open. Sir, I have one question. You said about valuation. So I was reading one article yesterday that now, because for last few years, because of share market boom, many IPOs are coming, and current year 63% of the IPOs were offer for sale. So the money actually goes to promoters and founders and not in the development and buying plant and machinery. So do you think from this regulation any law should be there that it should not be more than 20%, 25%, because I have seen 100% offer for sale. So they are just, so what they do is...
You see, the promoters are supposed to dilute their equity to 75%.
Yeah.
It cannot be 100% with them. Every promoter is supposed to bring down their equity to 75%.
Yeah. No, but the IPO is OFS, not the real for expanding the operations of the company. So,
you see, I will not like to comment anything on this, except SEBI has to be more watchful than what they have been. Because what has been happening is that a share moves from 100 rupees to 1000 rupees, you don't bother for it. And then it starts falling and goes to rupee 1.
yeah.
That only SEBI can protect.
Oh.
Because SEBI has got every information with it. I think today in India, one thing is there. The government has got more data than you, what you have got for yourself.
Yeah, right.
Government knows more about you than about what you know about yourself. It's a fact.
Yeah, all that AIS, TIS and all that, each and every transaction is...
Income tax के लिए इतना collection है data का, मतलब कि जो आप Facebook पे photo भी डालते हैं, even that is under surveillance.
Even the
And
Digi
now-
Yatra app
now-
also, I think they are
now
tracking.
Notices have been served to two categories only 4 days back. One is the people who have traveled abroad.
Yeah. I was about to say that even those
The
Digi
people who have
Yatra.
traveled abroad, they have been issued notices
Thank you, sir.
asking for the full details. From where did you purchase the tickets? Which of the excursions you have actually gone? And how did you meet that expense? Whether you purchased dollars, from where did you purchase the dollars? Every question has been asked. And all the properties which the people have purchased in Dubai, they have been issued notices. So I personally feel that if this trend continues, Dubai properties value may get a hit.
Get
May get a hit.
Get a hit, yeah. So let me have quick formal vote of thanks. Our heartfelt gratitude goes to our esteemed speaker, CA Amarjit Chopra, past President of ICAI. Our gratitude extends to our sponsor, Institute of College of Banking and Financial Studies, and our corporate supporters and corporate members. I would also like to thank Intercity Hotel for providing this beautiful venue. Thanks to Nagesh and team for handling the photography and videography. And last but not the least, to our vibrant audience for participating and making this event a dynamic and meaningful. Wishing you all a very pleasant evening and delicious dinner. Thank you.